All right, so Microsoft Teams, this is another option for video conferencing and many, many other things. And we're going to do a lot of comparing with Zoom so that you can have a frame of reference and also hopefully easily understand the different options in Microsoft Teams. It's part of the whole Office 365 suite of software that include things like Microsoft Word, Publisher, Excel, all of those different software that we're more used to. So if you open up Microsoft Teams, which usually you have an account for. So for example, at UVI, this will be my UVI account, and we'll be able to, see different ways that it's used in UVI. If you look at the very top up here, there's an icon that says activity. So this column we'll be going through so you can see what some of the different options are. The second column, since I'm in the calls area, you can see like calls that I've either had or missed and voicemails, and similar in this third area over here. And in the fourth column, there's also some other things. But again, we're not going to cover every single thing today, but we want to at least go through these different icons on the left so that you can see what those are. So I'm going to make it full screen. For those of us with visual impairments, including myself. And here we go. So again, Microsoft Teams can be used in different ways. You can hold complete sessions about things just doing one of these at a time. For example, I could spend a whole hour explaining how to use just the phone part of Microsoft Teams. So for the purposes of what we're doing, it's just a overview, okay? So if I click on activity, right here, the various activities that I have done in Microsoft Teams show up, and I could click on them and it would go back to those things. So that's kind of like similar to like if you could go into your to-do list and things that you checked off and things that you did, messages that you sent to people, so on and so forth, different activity. That's basically what that would be like. If I click on the arrow to the right of it and go to my feed, it shows me in this situation, missed calls, voicemails, again, things that people have done. So this person clicked and put one of those little thumbs up to something that I sent in a message. And if I scroll down some more, I can see again, different reactions that people have had for different things. So just going in briefly into what's in this feed area. This is if you want to go backwards and see all the different things that have been done. That's what this feed does.
I'm sorry, I missed something. How did you get to the feed?
Sure. I'm still in the activity icon over here on the left, and I clicked on the drop down arrow, or it's a caret, depending on what you call it. And this drop down arrow, it can allow you to change between your activity or your feed. So activity is basically things that you've done, right? Like I replied. If I go to feed, these are like missed calls that I got from people or responses from other people in chats and messages and different things like that. So that's all about what you've done and what you've been involved in, the feed and activity there, once you click on this activity icon. Again, I won't go through every single thing, but there are ways to filter and search and go through different types of settings. So what I just clicked on is the little settings icon. And this is where I'm going to click on general because that's the one at the top. This is where you're able to change things like the way that it looks, your theme and the layout, you know, how you want it to be organized, that type of thing. And again, I'm not going to go through every single one of these, but I just want you to know where things are. So if you do have an account, you would be able to go and click around in it. All right. This is one that I'm actually going to click on because it's useful. Out of office. You can schedule out of office and set automatic replies. So if I click on schedule, and again, when you're using Teams for institutions, organizations, sometimes you want to set these things. Very similar to like email. You could turn on automatic replies when people try to contact you for different things. Not the only place you can do that type of thing, but just showing that there's different possibilities. The account that I'm signed in as is my University of the Virgin Islands account with my UVI email address. I could go in there and click manage, and you know, it give me options to personalize and change a couple of things. If it doesn't open, I won't go into it too much right now. Privacy. If you want to block certain contacts, you have the ability to do that. Read receipts. If you want to be able to participate in surveys that people send, you can either turn that on like that or leave it closed. And there's some other things there. Notifications, missed activity emails. So again, this goes into lots of other very, very detailed things that I will not try to cover, but I'm just going through every single screen and just showing a little bit about what's there. How the appearance and sound is, different channels. I'll explain what channels are in a second, and Teams. Your chat, how you want to be able to utilize your chat. You could go in and edit meetings, different contacts. They call it people here. Keeping track of someone's status and getting notified when they appear available online. This is useful if you are waiting to speak to someone, but their notification says that they're busy or in a meeting. You can go in here and turn on something that allows Microsoft to let you know when they're no longer busy so that you can then try to reach them there. You know, various different things like that. So when I say that it's similar to Teams in terms of the ability to use video conferencing, it's definitely not only for video conferencing. Okay, here's where you would go to make sure that it's using the headphones that you wanted to use or the microphone that you wanted to use. And in this case, I only have one option, so it's not really anything for me to change, but some people have different options, internal and external devices. Different things, your camera, your secondary ringer. Sometimes this is where this type of thing is useful is, and keeping in mind that Teams is used as a phone system for some people. And right now UVI is actually in a transition of using the regular phones that we're used to using and getting our phone calls and making our phone calls in the Teams software instead. So some people have already totally transferred and are only using Microsoft Teams as their phone system. And so sometimes people have headphones plugged in to their computer. And if their headphones are plugged in, they can't hear if the phone rings if they don't have the headphones in their ears, in, you know, the earphones. So the secondary ringer allows you to have it ringing not just in one place, but in two. So maybe it'll ring in your headphones, yes, but then if you don't have your headphones in, you also have it ringing in your computer speaker. That's the kind of thing that that's about. And I won't go into all of these other things with app permissions, but many different apps in Microsoft work with, all of the apps now work together. Word, Teams, OneDrive, all these different things. So you can make different changes to how things work together. Oh, somebody's coming back in. Here we go. Okay. Let me go to calls. That was captions and transcripts. I'm not as familiar with that. Calls. Here is where you can control certain things regarding your calls. So again, using the example of UVI, whether in UVI or not, it's important to know that sometimes when you call people, as we transition from the old phone system into using Teams as a phone system, we may not get it for those who don't have all the technology, the equipment set up yet to use it effectively. And so it may go to voicemail. And that voicemail then gets sent to the person in an email. If you actually leave a message, we get emails now of the voicemail messages, and it also transcribes what you say. So that's really helpful for a lot of people, me included, who don't always have the chance to check voicemail as easily because of the volume of work and calls and messages and emails and everything else. Uh, and that helps us to get back to you faster, because just like we're checking email all the time for those that do, because it's part of the job, we're able to see your voicemail, not only where all the voicemails are, but also they come in the email immediately. So that's how that is. So here's where you would go if you're configuring your voicemail, recording it for the first time, and controls of your ringtones, and you can forward your calls, and you can not just forward, but delegate your calls to ring on other people's desks as well. So for certain people in certain offices, that's useful, that certain calls are going to multiple people when they come in, and that way someone is able to get it. It's not just one person. Many different things, again, and more details than we probably need. So I'm just gonna go through quickly as we go down, and then Mary Jo, I'm hoping that we'll have enough time to do a little something else. So I'm in now the chat area, and different from Zoom, but what's similar is if you're in a meeting, you can use the chat. Very similar to Zoom. But even when you have closed the meeting, the chat is still available and still exists. So that's a major difference between using the Zoom chat or the Microsoft Teams chat. You can start chatting with someone even when you're not in a meeting, as long as you have their contact information, which is usually an email address, especially if they're within your institution. But even when they are out of the institution, like someone that you had a meeting with, you can still chat with them in Teams, as long as you use Teams to have that meeting. And there are different settings there that can be turned on or off. For example, if Mary Jo has two Teams accounts, one for UVI, one for Red Cross. If she is signed in as UVI and the Red Cross has a chat going, she won't be able to see it unless she was in a Red Cross meeting as a guest, not as her Red Cross identification. So it's different things. I don't know most people that have more than one Teams account, but we don't know what's going to happen in the future as things change. So just, it's good to start getting familiar with these different things that are being used so that you can have access to meeting with people and information that's being shared. So we have, for example, the School of Agriculture recruitment team, and we have meetings every week. And so if I click on this one area here, and you'll notice the different icons here in the chat. So this one looks like a calendar, and that basically means that there are meetings regularly, or that were on the calendar for that particular thing. So the title of this one is Recruitment Committee. So that is what this chat is about. And you can see down here on the bottom that I'm highlighting that we had a meeting for an hour and 14 minutes, ended at 2:08 p.m. today. If there were a recording of the meeting, you'd be able to click right down here. It would show up here and you'd be able to watch the meeting again, right here within the chat of that meeting. So that type of thing is useful. It's convenient to keep everything in one place. If you look at the top, I'm in the chat area right now, and I could scroll up to various other meetings that we had and even documents that were shared. There's a Word document, photos that were shared, different things like that. If I go to files, you'll see that there are a couple files there. And so again, all within this chat, you can save files that are related to whatever this chat is about. And this particular chat is about the recruitment. So there are different things there for that. There are notes maybe from different meetings that could be saved. So maybe you have minutes, maybe you have just different notes of whatever came up during that meeting. They can all be saved right here in the chat. And a whiteboard, similar to other things, if things need to be drawn or typed out or just worked through collaboratively.
Question, Dara.
Sure.
Can, if I take notes, can they just be seen by me?
If you're in a chat with other people,
Mhm.
okay, are you asking if you have the ability to save your own notes intentionally or?
Right, save my notes, but they're just for me, not to be shared with other people.
Yes, you have the different ability to do that. Let me, do me a favor, and for anyone that asks a question, as opposed to me stopping to write it down,
Okay.
go ahead and you can throw that in the Zoom chat. And I'll probably need to come back to that individually for you at some point. But for right now, I'm just being silly here, putting this little face. So whiteboard, different people to collaborate, doing different things. If I click on the plus sign, there are many different applications that can be used in Teams. Many, many, many for different purposes. Many. You'll see YouTube, you'll see all sorts of other things that I don't even know what they are. It just depends on what you need to be able to do collaboratively with others. There's probably an app for it. An app is just short for application, software, that type of thing. Here are like Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, PDF, PowerPoint, so on and so forth. You can create forms, you can create polls, all sorts of things. It's overwhelming how many things are possible to do in Teams. If I were to go over to the top right over here and click on join, it would start the meeting and other people would be notified that there's a meeting happening in Teams. Other people who are in this group, not anybody else. Only the people who are in this group would be notified that the meeting has started. And that can be done at any time once we created this group. If I click on this little icon, it's to view the participants that are in this group. So I can see and I can add other participants or I can leave the group. If I click on the one all the way to the right, it changes the layout so that you can see these details that I'm now showing, the date of this meeting, when it occurs every Monday, and then the different links to create, different links to join the meeting. So very similar to Zoom, you can join the meeting by clicking a link, or you can call in using audio and a pin. And then there are other different options. If you notice right here, I can click copy link, and then I could email that link to someone or text it to them or whatever else, whatever other way I can share it with them. So very similar to Zoom, you could share the invitation to a meeting by copying a link or even sending them this information right here. So again, differences, not necessarily better or worse. I've heard mixed reviews on Teams in terms of some people that like it, some people that don't like it. So I don't usually get into a better or worse situation. It's just a matter of what you become familiar with from repeated use. So now I'm in the Teams area, and Teams are just basically groups of people who have a like or a similar intention. Maybe it's part of the job, maybe it's something social, maybe it's whatever it is. So I have a combination of things here. Professional development that's related to courses and things that the university's IT staff teaches. I on UVI magazine. So that's literally our university magazine group. People who work with the magazine communicate through that way or can. We still use email very heavily, but we're moving to doing a lot more things in Teams, again, to keep all the conversations connected in some way rather than this email on this month and this other email on this month. In Teams, we could keep all the conversations together. And it makes it easier to go back and find things or to reach people quickly. These are classes that I teach, and so the students are connected in those. The communication department of school agriculture, so on and so forth. So there's different, 3 ladies and a dude. That's probably the PhD program, some students that just got together to work on some things. So they just created whatever name they wanted. But just, different things that are teams. And so let me see, let me go into one of them. I'll go into, well, there's nothing happening in here right now, but let me go into one for the class. So for example, this was from a class that we had, and very similar to the School of Agriculture group. All of these areas still exist, the posts, the files that I may have saved in for the class. I have some of these in folders, so it's more files. The class notebook, I don't think we really used a notebook per se. So there's probably nothing in there. Okay, a little bit. The assignments. So students also use Teams for classes if the professors know how. Otherwise, they probably just stick to Blackboard. The grades could be shown in there. If there's a poll, and I did create a poll asking students how familiar or comfortable they are with using Microsoft Teams. So many different options of what can be used, again, in these Teams groups. Somebody had a question?
Sorry, I had my mic open.
Oh, okay, just checking. No problem. So again, I'm just clicking around so you see what it looks like. So if I click right here after the name of the group, you can see I can manage the team here, which means I can basically add or remove students. Channels are like subdivisions of teams. So maybe you have an overall team for the class, but then you have a separate channel for a subgroup of some kind and different things like that. I can add members, I can leave the team, I can edit the team, which would be like the name and different things. I can get a link that I can send to a student so that they can join the team. Different ways I can add them, or I could just add their name through their email and different things like that. I could just delete the team altogether. So I won't delete this one because I use this every semester, but it's showing what's in there. So if I click on, that was from these ellipses, that was the menu there. If I click on this one, I get different options. Notifications. There's an email address assigned to every channel. So if you send a message to the email address, it's sending a message to everyone in the team. Again, very complicated software, right? It's not simple, but once you're able to learn it and get everybody in comfortably and able to use it, it could make things a lot easier to get done. Because before you would have to know everybody's email address in order to send them a message. And sometimes that can get a little tricky. In this situation, you could just email the team and everybody would get the message. So many different benefits. Let's see, chat here on the right. They're just different views of using Teams. And again, I'm just clicking around. This would be to pop the tab out so that it's by itself like that. But I don't need that to be the case. I'm just going to close that. This would be to expand so that the main thing that you're seeing is this part of the tab and you didn't see this, the second tab over here anymore. Internet does strange things. So sometimes you have to reload the pages. That's what this one is for. and just many different things to do. If I click on this button right here that says meet and it has a little video camera, it will start a meeting. And people who are in this group will get a notification, as long as they have Teams turned on, that someone started a meeting. And they can just click on whatever comes up for them and they'll be able to join the meeting. You can also schedule a meeting for another time, and then people will get a notification that a meeting is coming up. Teams, very, very, very complicated in terms of the amount of things, not in a bad way, but just in terms of the amount of things that you can do. Very, very much. You can manage your teams here, switch your view. I tend to like this dark mode sometimes, depending on what I'm doing. It's just sometimes it's better for my eyes, but oftentimes people use the default where it's this color. Won't go too much into assignments, but it is what it says. You can create assignments for people in teams, whether it's your class or class like students or colleagues or people that are sharing things to do. And then there's calendar. And it's a calendar. That's what it is. It's nothing special. But you can set things on your calendar, like I could right click in here or just click in here, period, and then it would open this up so that I could create whatever. I could create a meeting. I could here add the different attendees that I want to attend. And one of the questions that people has is, like, we're using the example of UVI's Teams software right now, and you're signed in as a UVI person, student, faculty, staff, doesn't matter. If I type in an email address here from someone that's not at UVI, they will still be added into this, just like the people who are at UVI. So it's not restricted to only what you're signed in as. There are some extra little things where, like if you're in a meeting and the person is not part of UVI, for example, it's a UVI meeting or Red Cross or whatever else, if they're signed in as a guest and they're not part of that institution or that group, after the meeting is done, one of the settings that's pretty much a default is that the person as a guest may not be able to go in and see whatever is in the chat afterwards, but it's not something that's mandatory. So there are times when you can. It just depends on how the setting is. And with everything, there's a way to adjust things. You just have to know how to contact whoever your IT people are, whoever that can help you with learning how. So, and then I just switched from details up here to scheduling assistant. This helps you to see what's on your calendar already, so you don't double book yourself, which some of us tend to do. But just a different view of setting something on your calendar. All right, calls, again, we could spend a whole hour on calls, but if I click on the little calls icon, you see the keypad there. So if I wanted to make a call right now, I would just dial the number and then press call, and it would call as if this is a phone. And this is now my desk phone, technically, because the whole of the School of Agriculture has switched over to using Teams. So we're kind of ahead of the pack with the rest of the university, along with IT, in terms of learning how to use Teams instead of the antiquated phone system. And there's pros and cons to that because of course there's a learning curve, but it's a phone pad. So it works just like a phone pad works. And if you start typing numbers, the call icon here will light up so that you can go ahead and press call. You have, go ahead.
This is a voice over IP.
Yes.
You wouldn't need a regular phone system then.
No.
That means you could put by telco out of business.
Yep. So we're getting phones that are specific to working with using Microsoft Teams. And then we'll still have desk phones like on our desk once those come in. in a few months, but it won't be just like a regular phone. It'll look like a regular phone probably, but it will be something that works with the technology. So over here, you can see other calls that have come in. And if I wanted to, I could click on our conversation. I could see what their job title is. Let me go back. I just clicked on the back arrow up here, similar to what you do on the internet. Go back. Here, you could start a video call. So you just similar to like using Skype, WhatsApp, those types of things on maybe a phone or tablet or a computer or whatever. I can either call them using the phone, the Teams phone, or I can video call them. And all the different icons are here for you to be able to do that. If I want to send them a quick message, I can just type it here and then click send. So it once you learn it, it makes it more convenient for you to be able to do multiple things in terms of communicating with those who are in your network or otherwise, or not in your network. And let's see, okay. So all calls is what I'm looking at right now. I could change it to missed calls. I can change it to incoming, and then I could look at voicemail. So just different things that I could do. I don't know who this 1-800 number is, but at some point I'll probably listen to the voicemail, or I could click on the ellipsis right here and call them back, delete, add, block, mark it as if I haven't looked at it yet, different things like that. All right, so let me go down now to files. That's the phone system. And all these different files are, again, Teams is connected to all the other Microsoft Office software. So some of these files I didn't even put in Teams. They are in my OneDrive, which is just the cloud storage for Microsoft Office. It's basically my jump drive that's in the internet. It's not a physical jump drive, it's a virtual jump drive, right? That's the easy way for me to explain it. And so whatever I've been doing recently regarding anything in Microsoft Office will show up here. So working on this medicinal plant book thing, working on the careers and salaries, a list that we're creating regarding agricultural careers and the salaries that different people can get an understanding of what that type of job pays, so on and so on and so on. So all these different, and I can keep scrolling and it'll just go back to, this one goes back to March. And I could open up these documents right here in Teams, even though I didn't use them initially in Teams. I could. I'm gonna go down. And this ellipsis just brings up more applications that I can use while in Teams. You're gonna notice that Zoom is here. And this tends to be a little head scratcher for people. Like, why would you wanna use Zoom in Teams? But you can. You can. So just know that that's a possibility. If I click on Zoom and I start a Zoom meeting here, if I'm in Teams, I can communicate to someone else just using Zoom, but I'm still within the Teams platform. So they're taking over. Let me pause a minute. I'll stop sharing my screen and see if there are any questions that I need to go back to. Mary Jo, I want to take a look at your question again, so I can see if I know the answer immediately.
Okay.
Okay, so just pausing for a minute. Oh, I see your question. Can I take notes only to be seen by me and team? So let me check on that for a minute, but it is minutes to 8, so we're halfway through, or depending on the situation, we could do another half an hour and be good for tonight. But that was just an overview of what's available in Microsoft Teams. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. So not something that you want to overwhelm yourself all at one time at all, at all, at all, at all. Zoom is much easier
So
to
Dara,
learn. Mhm.
so what you do? You have to pay for a Microsoft account, or you just paying for this particular video thing, this phone call thing?
Yeah, well, from the way that I see it, depending on what you need, you could go and download just the Teams app, but you would need, you could be a guest. So you can purchase the entire Microsoft Office suite if you want to, or you can just use Teams. But again, it just depends on what you need, because again, not everybody has all of that, but they're still able to join meetings. So you don't necessarily need to do, you don't have to go buy a whole thing. You can create an account without paying for, you can create a Microsoft account, an email address or whatever if you need to, just different types of things like that. So it's new technology in that many people are not used to using it. But if you don't have a Microsoft account, it won't stop you from being able to join meetings and attend and participate fully, just like what other people do.
Part of the reason why I asked, so because you say UVI switch to it phone service wise.
Yeah.
So is it that much an economic benefit, or is just effective benefit, more effective service, or why would they make this switch?
Yeah, they made the switch because the phone service that we had previously is old, it's antiquated, it had issues. And because UVI is using Microsoft in general for all students, faculty, and staff in any way, I think it's going to save them money. That's one thing, because they already have access to the accounts, and because that's what everybody's using anyway for email and everything else. And it also gives more flexibility in terms of being able to do all of the various things that I just kind of give you a brief overview of being able to do. And that's just in Teams, not to mention all of the other applications in Microsoft Office. So many of us may only be used to using like Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and there are many, many other applications now that help for doing different things in Microsoft Office. So to keep all of everything in one place and to be able to do all of those things more seamlessly, it seemed to be a smart move for UVI anyway, not for just everybody, but for an institution that was already using so many of the software in Microsoft to just add the phone system. Because it's just the phone system that's new, not on any of the other stuff. They've always been using Microsoft Office for their email, for Microsoft Word, for everything, for everybody that's affiliated with UVI. But the phone system is the new thing that's being added. And outside of an institution, you don't need the phone system because you have your own phone and everything. It's not like you go to Microsoft Office just to get a Teams phone. That's not really what happens. I see something in the chat I'm checking.
More advantageous for a large organization or group that functions in a business type manner, because you could also publish magazines and books and other papers using the Microsoft Publisher, I would imagine.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And again, it just keeps everything within the system. I know like one of the things that happens is with the older phones that the campus has, if WAPA goes off and they have some of those other VoIP type phones, the phones won't work. Like the old phones that aren't using that type of technology will still ring, but many offices don't have those old phones anymore. So WAPA, internet, if the internet goes down, the phone doesn't work. So it's the benefit in one way, and it's indirect, but because many people are using their phones and smart devices as part of their work. Let's say WAPA goes off and let's say the internet goes down. People at UVI will be able to still access everything on their phone. And they can still get their calls on their phone, on their like personal or university assigned cell phone or tablet. They don't have to depend on WAPA for communication or the internet, whichever service provider they're using at this point. So different types of conveniences that doesn't work with the regular phones that we used to have. And again, that doesn't do anything different for you all who may not be part of UVI or Red Cross, or I think the government is now also using Teams as well. It doesn't change how you reach us because you still just call whatever number you call and you get an answer. You can't tell the difference between how we're answering, right? But it's just to answer the question of what are some of the benefits of the university doing that. And I'm gonna leave that whole part there.
But
Mhm.
I also want to say, some of us, we have, all of us more or less do work on computers, and we use a cell phone and we do the meetings. And it would seem kind of advantageous if
Mhm.
you had a Microsoft program and you didn't have to talk about AT&T. You're still paying a bill, but you have kind of everything in one place. Am I right?
Okay. Yes and no. The software is all in one place. You still need internet. Microsoft is not an internet service provider. That's not like we may be using Via or AT&T or something else. That you have to have an internet source that's providing internet access in order to use the software. So it's two different
Got
things.
you.
It's who's providing the internet and who's providing the software. Two different things. Can't use the software unless you're on the internet. And so that's why on mobile phones, if you have a data plan, you can use the software. On iPads, if you have a data plan or a Wi-Fi access or whatever, you can use the software. Yeah, so I understand the question now. Okay, so mm, 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 private notes. I'm looking at Mary Jo's question, but if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to say. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, since we have a little time and we got through the entire thing, I'm gonna probably try to do a live chat with Mary Jo so that you can see some other things in using the chat. And if not, let me do this. Copy. I'm gonna start a chat with Mary Jo. So I'm gonna go back to sharing my screen. Share screen. And I'm gonna go to the chat. And although I have a chat with Mary Jo already, and you could see it down here, I'm gonna start a new one just so that you see the visual of the process of starting a new one. And because Mary Jo is working within the institution of UVI, it will be easy to find her because she's already an internal contact. So if I click on that and I type in even just her first name, I will get a list of, oh, I'm using 3 computers, so I typed in the wrong keyboard. I'll get a list of different people with that name. Mary. Right? So I'm gonna click on Mary Jo Williams. And now it'll show you our chat from the very first chat we ever did to whatever it is now. And that's another reason why some people like Teams, because none of the history of what you've communicated or shared with each other gets deleted unless you delete it. And sometimes that's very good because instead of looking through past emails, trying to find stuff, it's all in your chat. Okay, so here now I'm in a chat with Mary Jo, and she had a question. Go ahead.
Hello.
Oh, okay. So I'm in a chat with Mary Jo, and she had a question earlier about taking notes only to be seen by her in Teams. So in the chat, right at the bottom where it says type a new message, if I click on it, this is where I type. And then I could press, here I go again, typing on the wrong keyboard. Right here, I can type something there and then press enter. I can hover over it with my mouse, and then I have different emoticons or more options. If I want, I can delete the message, or I can even edit the message. So whereas, like, here's a comparison between in Zoom with the chat, I can't go back and like edit my message. I can go back and edit my message here in Teams. That can come in handy if you have a, if you made a mistake, if you want to add something into the message, you want to, you know, many different things. And then I just click on the check sign here to save it new. So that's another thing that's convenient. I'll go back and edit again. And you have all these other different options. You can attach a document or a picture or a video or whatever to the message. You can change the formatting, which, you know, isn't as necessary, but if you want a different font or things like that, you can do that. Add your emoticons, your emojis, all these other things. Many different types of apps. Zoom. All sorts of different things. So again, just going over quickly to show you the best way to learn some of these things. You want to discard this graph, close. Oops, let me click check. The best way to learn these things is to just play with them. So I'm going to actually in another computer click what I just copied from doing a search and all right. Okay, so I have, again, don't get confused by seeing things magically pop up on the screen. I have Teams open on another computer too that I was using just to keep what I'm doing in Zoom in one area and do this way. So when I looked up the question that Mary Jo had in terms of being able to take notes, pretty much outside of a meeting, that would just be for her to see. These are the instructions that I got. All right, so there's the ability to use notes whether or not you're in a meeting. And that's probably what you would end up doing so that you have your own notes and it's not the notes for the meeting that everybody else is seeing. Okay. So Mary Jo, I would just try that and let's see where that would be. See, go to your calendar icon in your Teams client. I'm gonna try to follow it and just see what happens. Go to your calendar icon. So that's this icon over here. Select the meeting that you want to add notes to. Okay, so this is different. This is adding in there, meeting notes in the meeting. You should see the meeting notes tab. Take this. This isn't the one I actually wanted to start, but let's see what happens. Files. I'm going to try it a different way. Okay, Mary Jo, it's Nan the Upit Day. So what I just said was not incorrect, but it wasn't addressing exactly what you were referring to. It may be one way of doing it, yes. And there's probably another way that once you've created it, you can have it set privately for you or whatever. But I think more so what you want to do is like create a notebook or a Microsoft Word document in your own team area. Let me see if I can type in Word in here. And you shouldn't have to do it this way, but I'm just checking something. Because remember, Teams isn't something that we've been using for a long time either. But we're gonna try it. Notebook. So I have OneNote. OneNote is someplace that you can create some notes about things. And you'll see what it looks like. So I started this before, and that's why you're seeing what you're seeing. But I could create a new notes area. I'm just gonna put the word blah if I wanted to. And this isn't something that everybody else is seeing. You can share it with other people, but it's not something everybody else is seeing.
Okay, so you would create it outside of the Teams meeting.
Yeah, outside of the meeting. Yeah,
Okay.
outside of the meeting. And that's basically the point. And what I've found, so there's always seems to be more than one way of doing something. So I wouldn't be surprised if creating a meeting while you're in, creating a note while you're in the meeting is possible. And then for you to have certain things that are just for you to see. I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
It's just a matter of looking into how.
And we'll probably, by the time you teach this next week or week after,
Mhm.
I might have figured it out, or you might have figured
Mhm.
it out.
Yep. Yeah.
But it's a good idea to know that, I could take notes in notes and not have to worry about other people seeing my notes
Right.
and how
Right.
bad a note taker I am.
Okay. See, I just got a something notification here. Oh, okay.
Hi, Dara. This is Gwen. I was just trying
Yeah, I
out the
see.
chat feature.
Okay. Yeah. So I see that there was a notification up there. There was a little one in a red circle. So I was like, well, somebody just sent me a chat. And so you can see now that she did. So she's just trying out chat feature. So while she did that, let me do this. If I hover over it, like I said, you see these different emoticons. Sometimes instead of typing back okay to let someone know that you saw the message, we would just press the thumbs up. And so now they know that you've seen the message. You can use the other ones too if you want to, but the one that's used the most is probably this thumbs up.
Just out of curiosity, if you hold down the thumbs up, would it change colors?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
No. You mean like in
WhatsApp?
to change the color?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're pretty straight up. Everybody's yellow. Everybody's yellow. At least
All right.
here. That
Just
doesn't
checking.
again that doesn't mean that it can't be done someplace else. Like since you said that, I personally would start looking around and wondering, can I change the color of my hand? And then I'm the type that would just Google it and be like, how do you change the color of your hand? Because there are some people that want to be able to do that, right? So you can put a heart, can laugh, can be surprised, can be sad, can be angry, or you can be none of them by just clicking back on whichever one that you clicked on.
So Dara, where were you finding those like emoticon things? Where were you?
So I'm gonna send you back a message and then hover your mouse over my message once I mean, actually, if you hover over yours, you'll see it too. But I'm just gonna say hi.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so now go ahead and hover over that hi. All right, what type of device are you on right now?
I went on my computer.
Okay, so yeah, there you go. So
Adele, yeah.
over,
Oh, okay. That's neat.
here. Yeah, and again, a lot of this is just for the sake of increasing the ability to communicate amongst each other without having to use voice at times or without having to be in person. So all of this communication technology is trying to facilitate and expedite communication. Okay. The chat is the thing that a lot of people use the most. And so just know that it's as simple as Again, coming up here to the very top of the second column, clicking on the icon for a new chat, typing in the person's name, email address, group or tag, or, you know, whatever information you have for them. Let me see. Okay, so I just wanted to see what existed for WVI. And this is the same information internally to UVI that is available even in Outlook, is available in OneDrive, which again is our cloud storage app, different things like that.
Okay.
So it's all integrated, and whatever you can do in one in terms of connecting to someone, it's usually very easy to do in another of the software within the Microsoft family. I am not selling Microsoft, but it's what we use now, and it's what obviously the federal government and other people use. So you might as well learn how to at least be comfortable enough in it.
So Dara,
Teams meeting, yes.
you showed how with a computer how you hover over the message with your print with your thing, but on your phone, how would you do the same thing and bring up the emojis?
Good question. So let's do that now. Thank you for asking. And I must have been off of my rocker for a minute because I didn't have my phone up at all. But I'm going to do that right now. So we're in Zoom. Here we go. And we're joining this meeting. So I'm going to share my screen in Zoom so you can see what the platform looks like on a phone. And of course, what it looks like on a phone is a small version of what it looks like on a tablet. So you'll be able to see the difference. So I'm going to share my screen now. Let's see. Stop share here. And stop there. All right, share screen, start. Everyone seeing my phone?
Yes.
Okay, good. So let's go back to that chat with Gwen. All right, so now I'm on the phone, and everything on the phone that you would do with a mouse, you do with your finger and either tapping or pushing down, or you know what I mean, that type of thing, or swiping, that type of thing. So if I want to hover over, put my finger over her,
Message.
her message, and I'm just touching the message now. This is what,
Okay. Okay.
and then I would be able to click on whichever of those things.
Okay. I see it.
Mm.
Yes, I see it.
Okay.
And at the top, I could click, I'm in the chat area right now. At the top of the screen, I could switch to files. Then
Okay.
here, they could switch to more. And there's nothing else in there right now, but I could. If I wanted to start a meeting or a call, there's difference between a call and a meeting. So just imagine a call being, not that you can't have more than one person in a call, because you can, but meetings are usually with more people, right? So if I wanted to, I could click on the call button. Because I'm on Zoom on the phone right now, it's saying this, that I need to end the other call. But if I wasn't on Zoom, it would just start calling her. Same thing with the video. If I wanted to call her video wise, and I would just click that video icon. So very, very similar. At the bottom in the chat here, if I click on type a message, then it pulls up my keyboard and I can start typing whatever. And then hi again. And then press the little icon on the left of that box. And then it will be, if I want to use the little microphone there, it would record a message instead of me typing it. But of course, because I'm using Zoom on this phone right now, it's not going to let me do it and use the mic
Mhm.
in one place. But otherwise, I would hold on the mic and I'd be able to speak and it would record it. There's a camera next to that if I wanted to upload a picture or something. Yep, and I'm getting a call.
Mhm.
Okay. Tell them, sorry, please call back later. Can't talk now. Okay. But you get the point. You can do very much, not very much. You can do the same things on your phone.
Mhm.
Do the same things on
Okay.
your phone, the same things on your iPad. It's just a matter of touching as opposed to clicking with a mouse.
Mhm.
Got you.
All right, so that's a lot. That's a lot. Any questions? Let's just do question and answer now, and I'll pause on the screen sharing so we can just talk for a minute. Any thoughts, any questions? And even if we don't have the answer tonight, I can get the answer for those who will be able to attend Thursday between 12 to 1. And again, I'm going to spend some time this evening at sending you all the links to the previous recordings.
Okay.
Any questions about Microsoft Teams, comparing it to Zoom or anything like that?
It gives you a lot of options.
Yeah. Maybe too much, but yeah. Yeah.
It seems good for organizational work.
Yeah.
In that you could keep a running records. Are your calls, and especially when you're doing all these webinars and things with people from the States, and so it gives you a better running record.
Mhm.
And I guess you would have to download it someplace or to have it all stored away where but it seems to me to be a good organizational tool.
Right. It'll keep everything saved for you in Teams, so you don't have to download it. But just to have a backup, you could download things someplace onto a jump drive or something like that. You could. Yep. But yeah, it's very good for groups that want to keep everything together and be able to communicate easily amongst each other, whether individually one-on-one or collectively as different groups or subgroups.
I have a question, Dara. Maybe it's how I understand it. If I'm in a Teams meeting, there's a chat feature in the Teams meeting that you can chat within the group, or you have to go to the chat icon outside too.
It's within the Teams meeting.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
what I wanted to be able to do is a little challenging to do now because we're in Zoom. So
Okay.
I
Okay.
can't be in a Zoom meeting and a Teams meeting at the same time, but I'm trying to find a solution to that for Thursday, even though there has to be some way for me to be able to do it. So
You can do it, Dara, if you use a different browser.
right.
Hmm.
Yeah, there is a way. So I could test it out for tonight, but I kind of don't want to try to do all of that.
Okay.
Simple for
Because
tonight. And
I opened my Teams and I think it's open in Edge.
mhm.
And I think the Zoom meeting is open in Chrome.
Understood. So we could, but they're both going to need to use the same microphone, and sometimes we don't need the microphone right
But you get
now,
the
so we
feedback.
may be able to do it without, just keep the microphone muted or disconnected or something. So there's a way, but let's troubleshoot that for Thursday,
Okay.
and just at this point like I said, we'll go into like the workshop part of it on Thursday and actually go into a meeting so that we see what the meeting looks like. It won't take as much time because we went through the basics of the different parts of Teams. So going into a Teams meeting itself, it's not gonna take very much time at all actually, but it'll take some other configuring. And maybe Mary Jo, if you're able, and it could start a Teams meeting without needing someone else. So it's not like I have to have a meeting with someone in order for you to see what it's like. Actually, let me try something just quickly. But yeah, any other questions?
a lot of information. I appreciate the time you took to go through it because I learned some new stuff today too.
Good, good, good. So I could just do this, and this is what I was saying. I won't go too much into this, but if I wanted to start a meeting, I could do that and click on Meet Now.
Hmm.
I'm starting a meeting with myself, start meeting, and it will try to start a meeting here. And you'll see what shows up, right? So we'll go through this on Thursday. But I don't want to
Okay,
do too much
that's
right now.
12 to 1, right? 12 to 1
Yeah.
on Thursday? Okay.
Yeah, 12 to 1. But if I were to click join now here,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see what happens. Just as a, all right. And then I could invite people to join with me. I'll do
Yeah,
this slower on Thursday.
My Teams is open now if you wanted to send it.
Yeah, and this is what it would look like. This is just me in the meeting. If it was me and Mary Jo, she'd be on one side, I'd be on the other. But just to answer your question about the chat, that's what I wanted to show you. It's up there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It's up there. It's usually up there, but when you're on a phone or a mobile device, sometimes you don't see it until you touch
Yeah.
the screen. Okay? So if you touch the chat icon, then you can start typing in the chat over there. But this is what the Teams meeting looks like. So we'll go through this on Thursday. So this is actually what you would look like if you were in a meeting. Share screen, mic, you know, participants, breakout rooms, similar, very similar to Zoom. I'm gonna leave this meeting, well, end the meeting, because if I leave the meeting will continue.
Did you say you could do breakout rooms in Teams?
Yes,
Oh, cool.
yeah, it's right there. Yeah.
All right.
Mhm. And more, all sorts of different things. So we'll go through this, the Teams meeting on Thursday. But let me stop this now. Sometimes I try not to have the computer doing too much because they tend to want to fall out. But, you know. But that's it for tonight. The basics of what the Teams platform looks like, what types of things you can do, the different controls, the benefits of it, the comparison between Teams and Zoom, using the chat. Didn't go all the way into making calls, but just showing you how that works, and the voicemail and the calendar and so on. So it's a lot. 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 Not a lot in a bad way, but it is a lot. And so it takes some getting used to for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Zoom is easier to learn for many people. Not everybody, for some reason, but not everybody. Some people prefer Teams. Some people found it easier to learn how to use Teams. Not most people that I've spoken to, but you know, it's different for different people.
Okay.
All right. So any other questions for this evening before I let you go and I work on getting your recordings to you?
No, that was very informative, Dara. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you.
Very good meeting. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So everybody has a little bit more comfort with at least understanding what Teams is and
Yes.
generally how it works, at least just from looking, not from doing it.
We have been
Yes.
introduced.
Okay. All right. First date happened, right?
Yes.
Next. Well, almost the first date. First date will be in the meeting. Introduction. All right. Well, thank you all again for joining. I see your heart, Mary Jo. Thank you for you know, working with us. I won't call you guinea pigs, but because that's not the best term to use right now with things going on in the world.
Yeah.
But learning how this works and being open to at least being introduced to new communication technology, because communication is going to be and is a very significant thing with everything that we do. And so the more that we can learn, the better for us to be able to have access to information and reaching other people and also being reachable.
Amen.
Mhm. All right, so on until Thursday between 12 to 1, where we will go into a Teams meeting and do different things in there.
Okay, thank you, Dara.
All right. You're
Thank you
Hello,
very
everybody.
Good night.
Good
Shalom.
night.
Hello.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night. Thank you, Dara. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Gwen.
Yeah.